Back when I was incarcerated in a Siberian prison, I always dreamt of the freedom to one day roam an open world. Oh, sorry, that is not my script. Hey, who took my script? Have you seen my script? Let's take that again. Back when I was a kid creating toy adventures in my room, I always dreamt of the freedom I would have if I got the ultimate toy playset. I, however, quickly realized how expensive and impractical that dream was relative to the size of my bedroom, so I pivoted my hopes and expectations to wishing for the ultimate open world freedom in gaming. A sandbox that would allow me to do anything my overactive imagination could think of. Then I deposited the rest of my creative energy into drawing and writing comics, but that's a story for another day. Before I ever owned my first console, like many other kids, I invented so many video games in my head, but I was just waiting for technology to catch up with my imagination. I remember describing the ultimate game to my friend in the 90s, which is basically The Sims meets GTA San Andreas, and he told me that it would never happen. I wonder what happened to that guy. Wherever he is, I want him to know that
we did it, Joe.
No matter where you're from, your dreams are valid.
We, in fact, did not do anything, and his name was not Joe. You know, I actually can't remember what his name was, but wherever he is in the world, I hope he's doing well. He's probably not a gamer anymore, and he likely got absorbed into the good old rat race, but it was fun to dream as kids back then. I've mentioned before that my first console was a PlayStation 1, and through some weird stroke of luck or cosmic alignment or whatever nonsense fictional writers attribute good fortune to, the retailer at the store recommended Driver 1 to my mom, which was the game that accompanied the surprise console that she was buying for us. As you can probably imagine, my little teenage mind was blown to bits. So many Saturday mornings were spent doing handbrake turns in Miami and San Francisco as we played the game with my dad and my brother for many months. We used to have this Saturday morning competition to see who could drive to San Francisco Bridge the fastest without getting wrecked by the cops. But after the novelty of the experience had worn off for me, I found myself wanting a little more. Would have been really great if we could leave the car and walk around the streets, I thought. The sequel in Driver 2 kindly obliged, but it felt very quickly limiting. You could not do very much once you left the car. Then came Grand Theft Auto 3, which is just behind San Andreas as my most played GTA game. You could do so much more than what Driver had to offer, although I still hold Driver as my peak driving experience in open world gaming. Every year that passed had me wondering why Rockstar could not just do that with their cars. I'll not rehash my feelings on San Andreas because I've already done it for an hour across 2 videos, but that was close to a perfect open world experience. Then there are the honorable mentions with the Sleeping Dogs and the LA Noirs and the Mafias of the world, and going back in time to Red Dead Redemption and Assassin's Creed, then back forward to Watch Dogs to a lesser extent, because I just can't anymore with Ubisoft's cluttered UI and samey game design. Each game, or gross corporate franchise product, aka money-milking opportunity in some instances, comes with its own merits, and I need to finish LA Noire because that's another huge potential, mostly positive tangent I could go on, but there is one thing that all these open world games have collectively and consistently failed at. Red Dead Redemption 2 will be the smallest offender obviously, because of all the options available in that game, but it's not completely immune to this particular criticism. Open world games are sold as the ultimate expression of freedom for a player. Go anywhere, do anything, interact with as many objects as possible. The larger the map, the better. The more the buildings you have access to, the higher the quality of the game, etc., etc. But all these things escape one key component of freedom. If you were suddenly digitized and thrown into a gaming world today, any gaming world, pick one of your choice, there is one aspect of life that will feel extremely limiting to you. Now, I'm a big fan of the aesthetic of golf, and I know I'm stalling and this can be very irritating, but patience. Come, walk with me. I wouldn't physically play the sport, but the sun and the green manicured lawns are a big point of attraction to me, so I've purchased many a golf game over the years. As an adult with a busy schedule, I was looking for a light golf game that I could casually drop in and out of on a weekday, and I found this thing called Everybody's Golf, which I keep calling Everyone's Golf for some reason. What's the difference? Everybody, everyone. All my English majors, here's your opportunity to shine in the comments. and they said your degree was useless. Who's laughing now? Heh. Anyway, if you've played this game before, you probably know where I'm going with this whole thing. And that is what we in the business call a hook. It's used to prevent people who are irritated by all the stalling from leaving. The game is a cute Japanese chibi design golf game with not the best looking graphics, unfortunately. After I got through the character creator section, which I've loved character creator options since the THQ WWF games, but I was thrown onto a lawn where I was supposed to speak to someone to get the game started. In true rebel fashion, I deviated from this and decided to explore my surroundings. Now we're finally getting to the point of this video, and back to my question. If you get digitized into a gaming world today, what aspect of any open world game you can think of would be a limiting factor to you? In all the freedom that they boast about in open world games, they always forget the most basic freedom of all. Bodily autonomy, and I'm not talking about abortion rights. Now, I don't know about you, but if you gave me freedom but my options were limited to walking, sprinting, crouching, and crawling, I'd feel like a prisoner in my own body. I've spoken in a past video about use of furniture in GTA games, but everybody's golf takes things a whole step further. I ignored the dude and ran over to the water as one does in any game with water, and to my surprise, the character did not drown. And to my further surprise, they implemented a swimming mechanic in this golf game. And to my further surprise, there is a button specifically for floating. Who does that? And while still in awe of this mechanics in a golf game, I got back on land and started messing around with the buttons as a real gamer does, because we don't look at control schemes or tutorials, and I found even more options. I can sit down both on the bare ground and on the edge of this pier by the water. I can even lie down like a bad I can celebrate at will and even throw a tantrum with the push of a button, and I can even swing my club wherever I like. That's not a euphemism. All these options, and I haven't even seen a golf ball yet or stepped foot on the green. This instantly became one of my favorite games before I even knew if the golfing was any good. And I see some of you rolling your eyes like, I listened to all that crap for this? Listen, I'm not speaking to the Call of Duty Mountain Dew crowd who pop into a lobby and
blast up on some cherries
for a couple of hours and then go and watch some NFL with a 6-pack of beers. I'm talking to my Red Dead Redemption 2, San Andreas, The Witcher, and even Dragon Quest people who will inhabit the world for hours on end and soak in all its goodness by focusing on every minute, intricate detail on offer. But just like Red Dead Redemption 2, the player does not need to use all these features all the time. It just provides a huge intangible psychological connection to know that you have the freedom to do it if you so choose. It's kinda like my relationship or lack thereof to RoboCop. He's a character I never identified with because NWA said, I'm kidding. No. I never connected with RoboCop because I'm a huge lover of food, and any character who cannot say,
we're rolling out, looking for America's greatest diners, drive-ins, and dives,
is a character I just cannot relate to. For all those who lack the imagination or willingness to understand why it's an overall quality of life improvement to increase dynamic character postures, you probably wouldn't have listened to the video this long. But if you're somehow still here, think about swinging through Insomniac's Spider-Man and suddenly going into a Miles Morales or MJ mission. You liked being able to do all these acrobatic movements and perching on walls and roofs, right? Well, now you can't. And the fact that you know that you don't have certain abilities will impact your overall confidence when exploring the level. Okay, maybe that's too radical an example because it isn't really one-to-one, because a lot of that stuff is integral to the design of a Spider-Man game and you actually cannot make a Spider-Man game without it. Fine. Let's think about Starfield versus No Man's Sky in terms of exploration. Just running around in No Man's Sky feels so different from Starfield because you know that you can take off into the sky at will, target a distant rock, and you'll be able to land directly on another planet. Unlike Starfield, which is chock full of loading screens that destroy the illusion of freedom and make launching into the unknown feel like a tedious bureaucratic process where you have to navigate past certain boundaries. The knowledge that you can just get up and go in No Man's Sky impacts your overall feeling when walking around on the surface. You don't even need to go, but it's just nice to know that you could if you wanted to. That's what I'm talking about. I hate being put in a world where I'm promised freedom, but every random object in my environment just reminds me that I have no bodily autonomy. I'm stuck either walking, running, or crouching because additional mechanics are only reserved for cutscenes. It always destroys my suspension of disbelief and reminds me that I'm just a digital robot person running around a series of polygons. It reminds me that game design still cannot incorporate the most basic mechanics into games that have no excuse not to be there. And I know someone is bound to say this, but not everything must be functional to your mission objectives. Other stuff would just make sense to have in the same way that Red Dead Redemption 2 incorporated all these appropriate immersive elements that have no bearing on the main game missions. You don't need to be able to drop the top to complete a single mission in GTA 5, but isn't it just nice to know that you can do it if and when you want to? Am I tripping? Let me know of any gaming mechanic that might be deemed useless, but you wish could be implemented into your favorite genre of game, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.